Hey, what's up, Vox&Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocals of Cryptopsy, and you're listening to my podcast, Vox&Hops, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians and talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope that you had a good rest of the week. I have had a good rest of the week. Last night I was at the Shadow of Intent, Signs of the Swarm, and Fairy and Brand of Sacrifice show here in Montreal. It was a great night. I got a bunch of interviews done. I'm super stoked to share those with all of you. They have just about another week left on this tour. If you can get out to it, you should absolutely go check them out. It's an awesome lineup full of great people, excellent musicians, and awesome fucking bands. Devastation on the Nation 2020 is less than 2 months away. This year's lineup features Rotting Christ, Borknagar, Wolfheart, Abigail Williams, and Imperial Triumphant. This tour is brought to you by Continental Touring, Metal Festival Tours, and yours truly, the Vox&Hops Podcast. Some of these shows have already sold out, and I can guarantee you that more of them will sell out. So if you do not have your tickets to this year's Devastation on the Nation, you should absolutely go and grab them right now via the link in the description of this podcast, or you could simply go to www.metalfestivaltours.com and pick them up, because trust me, this is a party that you do not want to miss. Today on the podcast, I'm with one of Montreal's most important figures, someone that has been there since the beginning of this scene back in the early 90s. Today on Vox&Hops, I am with Stephen Henry of Neuraxis alumni, Urban Aliens, and many, many more bands. Here it is, Vox&Hops, episode number 105.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, Vox&Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocals of Cryptopsy, and you're listening to my podcast, Vox&Hops, and today I'm sitting down with Stephen Henry from many, many projects, a true Montreal elite from the scene from back in the day, very important to the Montreal scene, someone that I've been wanting to sit down with and have a conversation with since the beginning of this podcast. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much.
Super happy to be with you. You are, as I said, very important to the Montreal scene. Let's take it all the way back to the beginning. How did you get caught up into this whole death metal Montreal scene?
Oh, well, let's go back way in time in 1994 when I moved into Montreal. It's been 25 years now, 26 in 2020. So I moved to Montreal, continuing a death metal project, which I was doing in Granby. I lived 2 years in Granby before moving to Montreal. So Neuraxis appeared during that era, and many other projects, which I was playing guitar for a folk rock band called Hangover, which I made my first show in my life in Montreal at the jailhouse with them, not with Neuraxis, but you know.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Hey.
There's no wrong way to start getting on stage. The first step is always getting on stage.
Yeah.
How much do you think the scene has evolved from back in the early 90s until now?
It's much complicated. There are many more bands. It's well more organized. I think Montreal's on the international map now. I think everybody knows. But back then was like a little bit like very underground, and not sure if people would understand Montreal as well. But it turned out pretty good, as you might see.
Yeah. But was there like a sense of camaraderie the way there is now? Everyone was helping themselves get shows going, or was it more of like a competitive edge?
It's a little bit hard to remember because I was doing a lot of stuff, such like drugs and alcohol. So I have like a little Lord Warm moment on my end. But today is way better. It's like I remember back then was like there was like the Frenchies from the east side and the Anglo from the west side, which I remember. And the scene I think was not very big back then, so everybody was doing their own thing with their own clan, I would say. But with years come, we got well more along, and the scene is pretty packed, and I think the brotherhood is pretty strong now.
I think it's very apparent that
yeah.
And one of the reasons that when I started this podcast, I used to always ask people from Montreal if they feel like there's a division between the French and the English scene, and everyone always told me no.
Today, no.
Yeah, but back in the day, there was a more clear defined.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. I think it's just like because we never cross path that much, unless we're going to the back street, which I would say would be the ground zero, which and the Anglo and the Franco would meet there, I think, and Fofone Electric.
Of course, yes. And it's also like a matter of, as the years go by, the true players and the most talented people from each band, or at least the most determined ones, will stick around.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll end up mingling and being like, oh, that guy's not just French or English, he's a fucking sick guitar player, and I want him in my band.
Yeah,
so I think that's something that happened
we get
too.
entangled now.
Yeah.
Pretty entangled as a scene. So I'm pretty happy the turnout.
I get asked this question all the time: is being from Montreal, is it such a hotbed? Why do so many bands come from here? I have my answer. I'm curious what your answer would be.
Oh boy, Metal Injection asked me the same thing. I was a little bit like, it's very hard to pinpoint since I'm in the inside since 25 years. I saw things growing bit by bit, but why Montreal? It's very hard to say, but what I can say is because the culture is it's a mix of the States and Europe. This is the one point I can tell. Maybe because we're close to the States. I don't know. There's a lot of things. Montreal is a very diverse city. It's not only for metal, for punk, alternative, hip hop, and now for synth, new kind of music like the synthesizer.
Like synth wave. I always think that a lot of it like boils down to those early scenes meshing together. BCI doing what they did for the scene was huge, especially now in like my generation of musicians. Grew up at those shows, met each other at those shows, saw big acts coming through and got exposed to those acts, and that's why they mingled and they learned and they were inspired by all these people. So it's thanks to Steph from BCI. You used to work for BCI.
Well, when BCI started, it was under the moniker of not Brave Concert International, but Bloody Corpse. It was BC Prod.
Got it, yeah.
I was working from almost day one for Stéphane Mellul with Robin Tremblay from Necronomicon. We were there since almost day one, helping him for free, like for flyers at shows. I'm doing stage hands and stuff like that. And then they put our bands to help us too. Back then, there was like not as a big scene, not a lot of big players who want to put their guts on the line. Stefan is one of the first, and there was Paget William from Greenland. He was doing a lot of punk rock shows, but he was doing a couple death metal shows. Fogel Sabourin, Evenco, tiny bit. So there was a lot of room. So BCI took a lot of room and brought Montreal a little bit higher.
It became like an optimal place for tourists to stop.
Yeah. Stéphane Mellul is a hard-working man. Now he lives in L.A.
Yeah, shout out to Steph.
Yes. Now he's doing Continental
Concerts, and Continental Concerts USA, and in Europe as well, I think.
Yeah.
Let's go back and let's talk about some beer to start. We are at Saint-Bock Brasserie Artisanale, one of my favorite tap rooms from Montreal.
Yeah,
it's always an easy choice to come here. I know that you like this beer, so I ordered it even before you came in. It's the Russian Imperial Porter.
Yeah, La Bonne Rip.
From 2017.
Oh, boy.
Delicious, boozy, black like our souls.
Yeah, pretty dark.
Slightly creamy, little coffee, but more booze on the top.
Yeah.
Absolutely delicious. Are you a craft beer enthusiast? I know that you are. But I feel like you're a newer craft beer enthusiast.
I was like, I'm an average guy for everything in life, as for music or for different talent. As for beer, I would say that I know a little, and I'm still craving to know more. But my memory is not very, very reliable. Sometimes it's like, oh, I drink this at Mondial de Bière and I forgot the name. It's always about that. So I'm taking pictures, so that's why you see on my Instagram pictures. So when it's fresh my memory, I'm gonna comment, gonna say it. This is like something that helps me for my memory. So I have many albums on my Facebook. So some people are thinking it's like, what you doing? It's like, and well, the toilet picture. This is it's a more personal thing. But,
we'll get to that one after.
Yeah,
Hold on.
But as for beer, it's been a couple of years getting into it more and more since there's lots more to offer, and there's many places and beer convention which we met at least 3 times this year.
That's correct.
In the past I used to love like those like white beer and red ale, and then I turned to the dark side, stout and damn stout.
They're so good, so sneakily delicious.
Oh yeah, especially Saint-Bock, la double malédiction, tabarnak.
Ça fait mal.
Ouch. This one is one of the best, I would say. And then like there's the Vox Populi stout, amazing. Shelton, it's amazing. Brasseur du Monde, they had a couple one. Barberie, La Robe Noire, and the list goes on.
And we're very lucky here, as much as we're gifted with having a bunch of metal bands come through here. There's a bunch of amazing craft beer coming from here.
There's a lot of friends of ours doing their own beer now. They have their own pub.
Yeah, shout out to Le Fermenteur.
Fermenteur up north, and in Saint-Henri.
Saint-Bock Brasserie. Yeah, absolutely killing it right now.
Yeah, they're very strong with the IPA. I use not liking IPA, but since La Nord-Est, I would say that okay, there's something that grapefruit thing. So, but I'm picky. I'm not drinking all kind of IPA, but the one that Saint-Henri.
Saint-Bock Brasserie. Yeah, they're killing it right now. Lineups around the corner. People from The Last Felony, from Ion Dissonance started that. It's definitely a microbrewery up here in Quebec for everyone to keep their eye on and to try to grab some. You can only get some on site, though, so you're going to have to go stand in line to get some of those releases.
Within a day or two, they sell all their cans, and they make a new design almost each week.
It's super sick.
It's a very different concept, very totally different.
Take me back to your first beer. You say you don't have such a reliable memory. Do you remember your first beer?
My first beer, well, I didn't remember, but my father reminded me because I was 6.
Wow.
So
different era.
Yeah, different era. My father used to live in well, he's dead, but he used to live in Pointe-Calumet, and my parents are divorced. My mom used to live in Saint-Agathe-des-Monts, so he make a drive to drop me at my mom's, and I was like asking for something to drink in the car. There was only beer, so he gave me a Labatt 50,
which is a good place to start. It's my best of the worst.
It's pretty sugary, and I got drunk with one beer, and my mom was very upset.
I can imagine so. Yes, I can imagine so.
But the next time I drank beer, I think was maybe around 16, 17. So I was not a very much alcohol consumer until I was like 16, 17, and then 21.
Was that like a coinciding of hitting the metal scene here in Montreal?
Yes. When I moved to Montreal in late 93, early 94, went to bars and stuff like that, but there was not that much craft beer back then. It was like, Molson, Labatt. I think it was Boreal was kind of be around. I think Boreal is from 91. I'm not sure.
It's around that time, yeah, for sure, yeah. They were definitely like the biggest of the microbrews.
Yeah. But back then, I was not looking for taste. I was looking for the percentage. So
efficiency.
So there was those like ugly beer, La Boule Max, Saint-Ides, Colt 43, Colt 45.
Yes.
Which are very strong beer. I cannot even smell them without puking my mouth.
Just if you're just having flashback.
Oh yeah. I got so it was like 1 liter, 1 liter 15, something like that. It's like big bottle, so it's like $4 or $5. Take 2, you're done.
So you eventually got Neuraxis up and running.
Yeah,
that started doing quite well. It's a very well-known band from here.
Took a little time before we get at something, to be honest.
What would be the point of Neuraxis' career that you're most proud of?
I think it will be more the 99, when the most solid lineup, most known and appreciated lineup with Alex Sirian, Yann Campbell, me, Rob Milley, and Yann Thiel. That was like the Passenger to Forlorn and Through Beyond era, which was like one of the epic moment of my life with playing as a musician.
Just hit the top, the pinnacle. At what point why did you no longer want to be a part of your band?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Some people say you quit your own band.
Something that you built, you know?
Yeah, but almost at the end, I was not feeling in my own band anymore. Especially when decision been coming from inside, and some guys like, well, we're gonna do like at least 4 or 5 tours next year, and I was like, I'm not very fond to do a lot of show like this, and especially tour that doesn't pay. I was not on sacrifice mode. I was 33 when I quit the band. Most of the guys were like in the mid-20s, so I understand that they're like eager to move forward, and and they thought maybe the band went a little bit bigger. They got signed prosthetic record and toured with Cannibal Corpse, Necrophagus, and many DSI, Malevolent
Sepultura.
So it grows. I think it was carrying me because like I was not willing to give more. I was like, maybe 1 tour per year, and maybe work at home and do some money, because I was not making money on tour and coming back with bills. So this is like the common thing that happened to most musicians when they're turning in the 30s, and it's not different with me. And I think we didn't get along pretty well. I was pretty a whiny bitch back then. Now I'm able to admit my fault. I've been an asshole for some time. But you learn with time. I'm still an asshole, but just a little bit more clever.
It's important in hindsight to always appreciate the mistakes you've made.
Plenty I've made.
As a learning experience.
Yeah, well...
What would be some of the biggest mistakes you wish you could take back?
Well, yesterday I was discussing with a friend online the Voivod show at Catacomb, the farewell show of Catacomb.
Which is sad. It's a DIY venue here in Montreal that is being shut down in the next few days because it got bumped out because of rent hikes and noise complaints.
It's getting very expensive. It has the same problem as the Café Chaos had in the past. The building, it's not their own, but they had to pay for the roof or what's breaking, and then taxes raise because you're downtown and everything. There's many condos, so
it is funny that like a scene that has so much local talent, especially young local talent, but there's nowhere for these bands to play. Is really what it's coming down to. You can't play. Lex is gone. Café Chaos you mentioned is gone. Catacombs is going to be gone. It doesn't leave many options for smaller bands to display and get those shows under their belts.
Comparing to other cities, I think we're pretty okay. It's like I've been to Trois-Rivières or Quebec City. There's not a lot. Montreal, we still have some, Piranha, Turbo House, the Petit Campus, and Fouf's doing a second room for a little show for 200 cap. So
Fouf's is going to do that?
Yeah, well, it's already done.
No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
The second
upstairs
floor.
there.
Yeah.
No way. That's awesome.
So that's kind of cool. There's l'Hémisphère Gauche that's almost verge to die.
Okay.
Yeah. Trash bar, not doing any shows. There's like the Billy Buck on Masson on the east side of the island. There's many little one. L'Alizé switch name to another name, but they don't accept metal show. Anyway, the PA doesn't give
push
much. Doesn't give much.
Metal needs the PA people. I cut you off though. You were saying that you were speaking with someone at the...
Yeah. Well, about my some mistakes. I have many mistakes, but the one I remember the most is when I moved to Montreal. I lived like 2 corner street from Piggy from Voivod. It was not my friend. It was like a connaissance, acquaintance. So we walked to the Cité 2000, and our local was just one side of the other. So it was like we speak a little bit, and then one night, I think it was like in '95 at the Purple Haze. I was like pretty drunk, and I was doing DJ back then in the Black Hole, the second floor of the Purple Haze. And I told to Piggy that Angel Rat and Outer Limit was like very, very crappy albums.
This is your one connection to him?
Yeah. I'm not very, very proud of it, but which I regret because today, like when Voivod play "Fix My Heart" from Outer Limit was like the last time I heard it was like maybe in the 90s when Voivod play either at Foof or I think was maybe at the Cat House or the other place. I forgot where the Dome.
Yes, the Brick or
La Brique.
Yes,
La Brique. So I was like, oh no, I hate that album. Those 2 albums was pretty grungy, but it's like 91 and 93, something like that. So I was not very much into it. But with time...
and you very nicely told him as you were inebriated.
Yeah. But he died in 2005, but in year 2000 at Fofone Electric, there was like a huge party compilation that Disco del Toro, Chantal Arroyo made at the Foof. It was like huge party, and Piggy was there, and I went up to him. It's like, sorry, buddy. So I'm glad to say him that I'm sorry because, like, you know, if he didn't do it, I would feel bad forever.
You would have that hole there, yeah.
Yeah.
That
but
void.
I love very much Angel Rat and Outer Limit now. I know how to appreciate to the right value. It's different concept album. Well, I was more into Dimension Atros and Nothing Face, so that has been done.
You've transitioned from being the guy on stage, which you still do some projects, to someone that's off stage but still going on tour now.
Yeah.
You do lights.
I'm still a rock star, but as a technician. That's how.
At what point did that transition happen and that make it okay? Because you didn't want to leave and come back with debt. Being a crew member, you tend to leave and come back with a bit of coin.
I was working for BCR for many years, so I have that knowledge. I have some knowledge. I'm not saying that I'm a pro. I'm a guy who have notion of almost everything, but pro and none. So I know how things works in shows and stuff like that. And when I left Neuraxis, I was saying to myself, I won't tour anymore. I hate touring because my experience I had the last tour I done at the end of 2005 was sleeping on floor, playing before like with an attendance of 15 people, especially in San Francisco was one of the worst shows we ever had. We didn't have the chance to bring out our merch. We had been kicked out at 10.
Really?
So we're selling merch in the street. So we could pay the parking across the street because it costs $5 to cross the bridge and $5 to get back and all that time. We lost so many money on that tour, but you know. But and then it's like 2006. I quit the band. I worked for Café Chaos as a DJ. Made money. First time in many years making money that I could put on the side and going to Wacken, Partisan. And then I met Cataclysm at the Partisan, I think in 2007.
You had to go all the way to Partisan.
Yeah,
to meet people from Montreal.
That's kind of weird. Well, the guys were recording Live in Deutschland DVD, and they don't have a light guy. So they asked me, it's like, well, since you're around, would you like to do the lights?
And you knew the songs somewhat?
Kind of. I know a couple songs. I know mostly of the earlier repertoire. It's like, Sorcery and Temple of Knowledge. And the band came back as a new band with Maurizio on vocals. So that was and they were on that, the comeback of Arm of Devastation. So it's the big return, one of the biggest return of Cataclysm in an international scene, but especially in Europe. So I was doing the lights, but with one eye, because the day before I was wearing my contact lenses and I got so drunk and I fall asleep, and there was a little tiny piece of dirt between my contact lenses and my eyes. My eyes got like huge pink eye kind of thing.
Wonderful.
So I was like looking at the guy, hey, I'm doing your lights tonight.
You're gonna trust me. Trust me, we're gonna have a long career together.
From there, the guy were like, oh, okay. And then next year they were doing Prevail, there, which was the new album, and they were looking for a light guy. So they test me for Toronto, Montreal, Quebec City. They were like, oh, that's kind of okay, because I have a strong reputation, There's a lot of people talking about me. It's not very beautiful most of the time.
Everyone knows Stephen Henry or has a Stephen Henry story.
Yeah, some people know more me than me myself, or I don't know.
Or they remember more of you.
Some people I don't know, they know me. I was like, that's kind of weird. So like the guy were a little bit scared to deal with me. It's like, what we're doing with him. So they tried me for 3 shows and went okay. So, and then it's like, we're doing the Summer Slaughter tour, which is
that's when we met, actually. Yeah.
5 weeks.
Yeah. That was
almost
intense.
6.
Yeah.
So it was like the longest trek I've never done in my life. 6 weeks almost.
You guys are comfy though. You guys were in a bus. We were in that RV
we
thing.
were in a bus, and I'm glad. I was like, oh, that's cool. And
that was your first bus tour.
Yeah, first bus tour, first bunk, and I was like, wow, like lots of beer, and
that was a great Summer Slaughter though. The lineup was amazing. Yeah.
This lineup is amazing. Black Dahlia, Cataclysm, Cryptopsy, The Spies Icon, Whitechapel.
Yeah, opening.
The Faceless.
Born of Osiris.
Born of Osiris.
Psychroptic. Vader.
The Vader, no, not Psychroptic.
No. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, that much? Hey, man.
The big lineup.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's like a festival.
Did you just pick up doing lights, like working at Cafe Chaos, doing DJ stuff, or is it something that you just played with before?
While BCI doing shows, and some band didn't have light man. So and also in parallel of all this, I was really into punk rock, skater punk rock, like NoFX, 10 Foot Pole, Millen Collins, No Use for a Name, and Bad Religion. The list goes on. And I didn't have money to attend to the show, and I was like, I want to see the show, so I was like going in front of the Spectrum. Most of the time the show goes there, and I was just like introducing myself to the bands. Do you have a light guy?
No way. And then you'd get in and watch the show and do lights for them.
Yeah.
That's badass.
I done it for Death too. The last show of Death in 95.
No way.
Gore, Guts, and Homicide. The light job is not that amazing, but I was learning, and I was like, audacieux.
You were a hustler.
Yeah.
The easiest way to say that.
I was like, let's go. It's like, so I'm doing a lot in the Cattles back street back then, and different venues here and there. Done Cryptopsy with Morbid Angel at the Metropolis. I don't know, hundreds of bands.
It's amazing.
So I was like learning like this. I'm never gone to school for that. I've never gone to school for anything though. I just learned on the field.
But all that took you from being a reliable, well-known person in the scene to being on tour with Slayer in Europe. Let's talk about that story. How did that come about?
I was it's a long shot, because Christophe, the light guy from Obituary, it's a friend of mine since a long time, since Cannibal Corpse played with Samael and Grave at the Cat House, one first biggest show of Stéphane Mellel, BCI. The show was like fully
It's all
packed.
connected. I love it.
So like I met Chris there, and he was looking for weed, so I brought him weed, and we got well along, and we keep in touch. See him when he's coming with Samael, and he's still working for Carcass, Hypocrisy, many metal band. So I like see him in town, and it's like, hey, what you need? I'm gonna see you and stuff like that. So, and you remember about me because I helped the band Carcass at the Rockfest. Billy Steer need a Triple X, which I have one. So I brought my head to the festival, and the guy's like, "Oh man, we owe you." Okay. Then it's like, and then he didn't forget about me. Even it was not with Carcass, but it was with Obituary. He needed an assistant for the lights, and also like a backliner to help haul the gear, because you have like maybe 4 minutes to scram off the stage
After the Slayer set.
like after Obituary played the last note, you have to scram the stage within 4 minutes. Because Anthrax coming in, and they have like 15 minutes
Changeover.
set. It's very tight, 20 minutes. The whole backline had to go off stage. So with lights, because Christophe brought his own equipment, stuff like that. So LEDs and stuff like that, smoke machine, strobes. So I was like the teeniest guy on that tour. Like I was like the unknown.
What was that lineup for? Just so everybody, in case they're not aware.
Obituary, Anthrax, Lamb of God, Slayer. It's a 5-week trek, but it was like 2 shows, 1 day off, and stuff like that. Arena only. Amazing food. I was eating like a pig. It was amazing.
You go back to that Stephen Henry 1987, just discovering metal, telling him that one day you're going to be on tour with Slayer.
I would slap myself.
Let's touch on the toilet bowl pictures. Anyone that follows Stephen on Facebook, Instagram, he posts pictures of toilets everywhere. I don't know why. I know that you do.
Well, you will know.
Let's see what it is.
You will know. When Neuraxis played its first European tour in 2003 with Birdflesh and Hellblazer, that was like the culture shock for me, because I've never been out from Canada and USA. It's like when in Europe, set my feet in the airport, and I met the first toilet. I was like, oh, this is a very weird toilet. There's one with kind of
the shelf,
yeah,
the shit shelf.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna take a picture of it, and then the rest is history.
So you just have been doing it since then.
Yeah.
But you had a Kodak, like a physical camera
like
back in the day.
Yeah. Back then it was 35 millimeters. And I remember taking pictures, but it was like a running gag, because like first I was like just curiosity, but then like we went to Italy, and there's those holes in
Turkish toilets. Yes.
Yeah, so that was more fascinating. So I have some videos too about it. I have like a 8 millimeters Handycam. I have a lot of footage. I have tons of footage. I'm so lazy.
You do that as well too, though. You're very busy in the scene, not only doing lights, being at the shows. You film a lot of this stuff too, and it goes underneath on YouTube. It's the
Team Montreal Metal.
How did that come about? Why is this something you still do to this day?
Well, going to shows, I've been like to thousands of shows in my life, many shows, and I used to be on stage working, playing, or doing lights or whatever. So it's like sit in front of the stage doing nothing annoys me.
You can't just watch the show.
So I have to do something. And since I'm a kid Kodak kind of, I love taking pictures and video. So I was like, why not? It's like, I love taking shots, and I call myself like an archivist, because I don't see much people taking video shows. There's some friend of mine that they're videoing their tape trader, but I don't tape trade. I don't sell unless the band really want it. I'm gonna sell it to them, and they could do whatever they want. But I love taking some shots here and there, which I video the whole Voivod set at the Catacomb. But
It's
I
a
believe,
special night. Then.
yeah. But I bleed only one song or two. I don't spoil the show. I don't want to spoil the whole thing. Just get a glimpse. So,
Like an archive, yeah. Like
it's been like 10 years to Montreal Metal.
it's amazing.
Yeah. And it's been like almost like more than 2 years. Not even.
Vox&Hops is a year and 2 months old. So
Wow. That grows pretty fast.
baby steps towards greatness, baby.
Yeah.
Let's touch on what you are doing now. Neuraxis is no longer a thing that's for you, but you are doing Urban Aliens, and it's more close to the punk rock you were talking about. It's like a mixture of punk rock and metal.
Well,
it's
it
funny.
started as a punk rock band with me and Alex Syrien. Back then, Alex was playing drums for us and Despise Icon and in Dying Days. He was a pretty occupied guy.
He is the epitome of the word hustler.
Yeah. He burned the candle by both ends, and he learned it about it because he cannot play drums. But he could play drums now, but it's like he's been so busy with this Obey the Brave and Despise Icon.
Everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah. But we were jamming some punk rock songs because Alex loved punk rock. Before he listened to death metal, he was like into punk rock.
I can see that. Yeah.
So we were jamming a couple riff here and there in early 2000, and then it turned out had to be songs. So I put up the songs on the shelves and say, "What am I gonna do?" And then Urban Alien came born, and we recorded our first album in 2005. But it was like a long process that we took our time. It was different players in the band until we get Stu and Phil in the band. Stu left the band in 2011. We have a new singer as well since 2009. Changed a lot of bass player.
It's hard to have a solid lineup, especially if it's not making any money up front.
You're not making money. You have to pay your rent. You have to be available at least once per week. And, it's very hard. Some people getting kids. And
With it, the older we get, the harder it becomes to keep people around.
We're getting a little lazy with time. As far for Urban Alien, we're recording our 5th album. What you're holding, it's the cassette. It's like EP.
Got it.
6 song with a cover that we perverize. We perverize that song from Michel Louvain.
I like it because it's always full of humor.
Yeah,
which is very Stephen Henry. I think this is probably it's the most Stephen Henry band you've ever been in.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the guy who doing the lyrics. That's pretty ironic because I wanted a straightforward punk rock band, and then some guys came in the band, and then it changed to be metal, punk, some hip hop, sometimes alternative, some rock. It's very hard to pinpoint that band, but lyrically, I was not the guy who doing the lyrics. Was a drummer for the 3 first album, and then our new singer done the last recording in the new album, and we pursued in that same vein, not as raw that we used to. Because the Me Too movement, it's pretty strong.
It is.
And maybe that's why we don't make many shows. Some people are thinking twice before getting us on their bill. I don't know. So it's like, well, Stéphane Miller helped me out at least 2 or 3 times. Pat Caron at Fofone Electric back then, booked us with Daigle Abortion, some other bands. Now we're kind of on our own. So we're going to try to make some show. We've done 1 show this year.
Well, this year's about to end, so next year you'll have even more.
Yeah. And the other project, Idiopathetic, it's a friend from Granby. Actually, it's like before I moved to Montreal, I was jamming some death metal with some friends, which Jeff Brunel and Francis Lalancette, which are the guys who are the first core member of kind of Neuraxis.
Oh, cool. So you went back to your roots.
Yeah, I went back to my friends, and they were saying that we're not very much into death metal anymore. So we make a kind of a groovecore alternative metal alternative band.
Cool.
So it's a weird mixture from System of a Down, Pantera, Slayer, and Danzig, I would say. So, and we done one album, took 5 years to record because we have many issues with the producer and soundman and stuff like that. And end up that Jeff Dagenet mixed the album. So that's kind of cool. We done it.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jeff Dagenet from Cataclysm. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we done this. We were supposed to done a second album, but the guys are very busy with their lives. So I don't know if the band exists anymore. But I have like the second album still. It's written musically, not lyrically.
Let's go, Idiopathetics. Let's get this going. Yeah. Steven's ready. The ball's in your court, boys.
So there's also Empathy Denied, which was like, I done it like 2005, 2006. We recorded demo. I have like 13 other songs written. Sounds pretty much Neuraxis from that passage through Beyond Era, I would say. There's some songs that used to be, they should be, and they're not on trilateral progression. There's like at least 2 songs I wrote for that album, but since we have to respect
the time code,
the timeline, we have scheduled for the studio and the album release with Willow Tip record and with E-Rake in Europe. That was a very, very close moment that we were with E-Rake in Europe. It didn't last long, but so I have like another album in my head to bring out under Empathy Denied, and I have like 2 other projects.
Jesus, so all you people out there listening, if you are looking for someone that has ideas and you want to work with him, hit up Stephen Henry.
I have many ideas. I think I need just some motivation, some drive, or...
That could just come by like the key people.
Yeah, the key people, because like all doing by myself, trying to make a studio on my own at home. I bought the vocal booth.
Really?
Yeah, trying to get back to learn again Pro Tool. I'm not a good memory guy. I hate myself for that. So it's like if I'm not working on it on a steady pace,
it's not going to stick around.
No, it's like I'm going to forget. It's same for the lights. Now it's complicated. It's complicated if you're not touching a light board every week. You're going to lose some notions. And that's why I turn out light guy to guitar tech stage guy for Cataclysm, because I was doing 1 tour per year, and then the band hires me as a guitar tech starting this year, and now next year we're doing 4 tour.
Crazy.
So it's like I might be on the road for 5 months.
Which is what happens when you're a good crew member. You end up being on tour more than the bands.
I won't say that I'm very good, but it's not about talent. Sometimes it's mostly about attitude and how reliable you can be,
and your personality in general.
Yeah, it's like how do
if you're all sunshine
roll
and rainbows,
with the punches.
Yeah, it's very important.
It's very important.
Stephen, thank you so much. Coming, drinking a beer with me, chatting on Vox&Hops. Greatly appreciate it. Cheers, brother.
Hey, thank you very much. And congratulations for your podcast with you and your wife helping you a lot on this. So shout out for her, because she's in the shadow, kind of.
She's my guitar tech.
Oh, yeah?
No. Shout out to Jessica. We love you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. I love Stephen. I met him, as we mentioned, during this podcast on my first U.S. tour when I joined Cryptopsy back in 2008 on the Summer Slaughter tour. It was such a crazy, crazy time for me. Having just joined an international touring act, it was my first real U.S. tour. I remember the first date of Summer Slaughter. It was in Detroit. It was absolutely insane. I was terrified, but I still had fun. We finished the set. Stephen came up to me and handed me this USB key. He's like, "Here, I videoed your set. Watch it." And I still have that somewhere. So huge shout out to Stephen Henry. Thank you so much for joining the Vox&Hops alumni. You were one of the first people that I wanted to interview when I started this podcast, so I'm super happy I did it. Cheers, Stephen. As always, the best way to support the Vox&Hops podcast is via the Vox&Hops Big Cartel page. The link to that is in the description of this podcast. Up there right now, we don't have much left because everything's sold out, but I do still have a few of the Vox&Hops branded 9-ounce tasting glasses. I use these glasses at home all the time when I'm sharing craft beer with my friends, and you can do the same if you pick one up on the Vox&Hops Big Cartel page. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know that I will, because tomorrow I'm going to be with my brothers in Ingested and Visceral Disgorge at Fofone Electrique, alongside The Last 10 Seconds of Life, Cabal, and Flesh Shrine. I hope to see you there. If you're there, come up and say hi to me. I'm super stoked to get some more interviews with my brothers once again. And I hope that you guys remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox&Hops heads.